if I'm going to be completely honest with you, I've never really been a shoe person. I definitely prefer bags over shoes. However, over the last few years, I've realised more and more the importance of good quality footwear and how a good shoe choice can definitely make or break an outfit. Having said all that, I still stand by the fact that you don't need a huge array of shoes within your wardrobe in order to look put together. So these are the 5 shoe styles that I swear by in autumn winter, where to buy them, and how to style them with the rest of your wardrobe. Number 1 on the list, and by far the star of the show when it comes to my own wardrobe, is a good leather ankle boot. This can either be completely flat or with a slight heel, but the keys are it has to be practical. It has to be walkable, waterproof, and comfortable. This is a day-to-day boot that you can wear to work, out shopping, to lunch, to dinner. It's a kind of do-all in your wardrobe, and it will pair really nicely with the majority of the clothing, the outfits you wear on a day-to-day basis. Now, I said waterproof because I really think you should be able to wear this no matter the weather, so I would suggest going for leather over suede in this instance. Comfortable, so you want to make sure you try these on, you get the size right, and you also get the heel height right. Now, personally, I like a slightly bigger heel because I like a little bit of lift and elevation, but you could go for a completely flat boot if that's your preference, if that's going to be most comfortable for you. But I do think if you find a high quality boot with a small 1 to 2 inch block heel, that can be just as comfortable as well. My boots of choice in my own wardrobe are the Cezanne Axel boots. Now, I like these for a few different reasons. In fact, I like them so much I have them in 2 different colours. Now, you definitely don't have to go this high when it comes to a heel. In fact, I would probably suggest going a little bit lower if you're going to be walking a lot. But for my lifestyle, these are perfectly fine and I can easily walk all day in these, no problem. I also love that they aren't black because a lot of the time I think people default to black boots because they are the most common, they are the most obvious choice, but actually if you're someone who wears a lot of colour or even certain shades of neutral, black might not be the best choice for you. So think about your colour scheme within your wardrobe. Unless you're someone who wears a lot of black, white and grey or other similar tones, you might want to go for a brown boot, a tan boot, a taupe boot, or even something more colourful like a burgundy, this mustard shade, a cream, a green even. There are so many different colours of boot that you can get these days. You definitely don't have to stick to black if you don't want to. Now, patent leather can be a great way to add a little bit more fun to an outfit if you like something with a little more pizzazz, but I will warn you that it's definitely not as easy to take care of as a traditional smooth leather, so bear that in mind. I don't mind it because it is waterproof, but if you scuff these, if you scrape them, you may not be able to get marks out, whereas with a smooth leather, you can usually buff away any scratches and marks. Now, in terms of the toe shape, I feel like you can go for anything depending on your preference, whether that's pointed, square, or almond. Just don't go for anything too exaggerated, because I think anything too extreme one way or the other is inevitably going to look dated in a few years. As an example, these Cezanne ones are a slight square toe, which is obviously really popular at the moment, but they have that rounded off finish, so it doesn't feel too exaggerated or dramatic. You could also go for an almond toe. I think that's really timeless. It's somewhere between a pointed toe and a round toe, so again, it doesn't feel too trendy one way or the other. My final tip when it comes to picking your perfect ankle boots is to look at the rubber sole, and if the rubber sole extends beyond the leather, you should always have a boot, especially a boot that you're going to be wearing a lot and doing a lot of miles in, that the rubber sole protects the leather on the front. If you stub your toe on a curb or you scuff your foot in any way, the rubber sole should catch that and actually prevent the leather getting marked or scuffed. This is particularly important when you have patent leather or suede because it is harder to take care of. The second shoe style on my list is a dressy ankle boot, and these can be a little bit less practical than your everyday walkable ankle boots. These are for those evening events or more formal occasions where you just want to look a little bit more dressed up. I suggest going for something a little bit like this. It's still very comfortable, it's still very walkable, but it has that stiletto kitten heel which instantly feels a little bit more dressed up, as well as the pointed toe which also makes it feel more formal. In this instance, I do go for black because I think when you want to look more formal, more dressed up, more elegant, black is always a good option, but you could also of course go for a dark brown or even a burgundy, I think looks really beautiful in this style as well. Because these are designed less for everyday and for more one-off dressier occasions, I think you can go slightly less practical with these, which is why I don't mind in this instance a slightly pointed toe, a kitten heel rather than a chunky block heel, and they also don't have that rubber sole which extends beyond the leather. I think that's because of the pointed toe, you don't tend to get that, and on something more sleek and sharp like this, you don't tend to get that. But I think that's okay because you're not going to be wearing these day to day walking for long extended periods of time. They're more for like those evening dinners, occasions where you might do a little bit of walking, but it's not going to be your commuter shoe. Before we move on, I want to talk a little bit about the do's and don'ts of styling ankle boots. Generally, I think ankle boots are really easy to pair with lots of different styles of trouser, skirt and dress. I think the only tricky thing is pairing these with midi skirts. I don't love the look of that personally because you get this awkward break between the end of the skirt and the start of the boot. So I would suggest pairing your ankle boots with longer trousers, jeans, wide leg jeans. They look amazing with wide leg tailored trousers. Even a straight leg jean works with these as well, as long as the jean comes beyond the start of the boot so you don't have that awkward break. I also think you can pair them with longer skirts and dresses if the skirt is full length or the dress is full length and you don't get that awkward leg showing between the start of the boot and the bottom of the skirt or the dress. And I even think they can work with mini skirts. It's not my favorite look, but I do think it's okay because you have a lot of leg between the bottom of the skirt and the boot. So you're not breaking up your leg in lots of different places that are all quite close to one another. My third shoe style are a good trusty pair of trainers. I'm not a trainer person. I don't really ever like the look of trainers. I would always rather go for an ankle boot. However, I do think there are certain instances where you just need a trainer, whether that's to look more casual and more appropriate for very casual dress down events, also just if you're doing a lot of walking in a day and you don't want to risk your feet getting uncomfortable. If I'm going for a city break where I know I'm going to be walking all day and I want to explore the city without worrying about my feet, then I will go for a pair of trainers. Trainers are the one shoe style within this video that I actually don't mind leaning into trends a little bit, and that's because I don't find trainers to be super long lasting within my wardrobe. I feel like they last a good couple of years, maybe 3 years if I don't wear them that frequently, but eventually they will get worn in and I probably will need to replace them. So because of that, I'm not looking for 5, 10, 15 years of wear from these shoes. I feel like you can lean into the trends and what's popular at the moment because inevitably you will only have them for a few years. Adidas are obviously really popular at the moment, and I think for good reason. I prefer a slim profile trainer to this. I don't think I would ever go back to a chunky dad style trainer. I just don't think these look flattering, especially if you are more kind of pear-shaped like me. It's adding extra weight to the bottom of your outfit and your body, and I just don't think it looks nice. Whereas I think a slim profile trainer is a little bit more chic, a little bit more feminine, and just pairs a little bit more nicely, especially if you're going to be wearing these with skirts and dresses. I don't tend to wear trainers with skirts and dresses. I would potentially wear these with a full-length maxi skirt. I don't mind that look. But I would primarily wear these with jeans, and I think a trainer looks best with a slim to straight leg ankle jean. I don't love the look of a trainer with a really wide leg jean. I prefer to have a little bit of height and something a little bit more streamlined if I'm wearing something quite flared or wide-legged on the bottom. But if I'm wearing a straight leg or slim cut ankle jean that cuts me off just at the ankle bone, I think that's when a pair of trainers can look really good. Number 4 on my list, we are moving back to boots because I have one more style of boot that I think you should own for autumn winter. And of course, that is a good classic knee-high boot. I think these are so good if you wear skirts, mini skirts, midi skirts. As I said, I really don't like the look of a midi skirt with ankle boots, and that's where the knee-high boot comes into its own. When you pair these with a midi skirt, you get that seamless transition between the boot and the skirt. I think it looks fantastic, so much more put together than having lots of breaks on your leg, a lot more flattering as well. And I do think a good knee-high boot is just an essential that often gets overlooked. I feel like most people have a good pair of ankle boots, but perhaps you haven't delved yet into the world of knee-high boots. If you haven't, I would highly recommend. If you're a regular here, you'll know that I completely stand by duo boots. They do the most perfect knee-high boots in my opinion, and the best thing of all is you can get a specific calf circumference. So if you have very narrow calves or very wide calves, they're going to do a boot that definitely will fit you. I think they run from about a 36 centimeter calf to a 53 centimeter calf. So very size inclusive. You can also get different heights. So if you have trouble finding knee-high boots because you're very short and they always come up too long, or you're very tall and they come up too short, then again they do petite, regular and tall in all of their styles as well. Personally, I think a knee-high boot is more timeless than an over-the-knee boot. I do like the look of over-the-knee boots, although often they remind me of this picture here, which I just think is very outdated now, especially if you get them in the very tight knee-high boots that are in suede. I just think sometimes it looks a little bit 2011, but no doubt it will come back around before we know it. So go with whatever your preference is, but I do think a knee-high boot rather than an over-the-knee boot is always going to be a little bit more timeless, and I think they're a little bit more comfortable and more wearable as well. Because you perhaps won't be wearing these quite as often as your day-to-day ankle boots, I do think you can go for something maybe a little bit more fun with this style if you want to. I tend to go for very classic boots, so these are a very dark brown. I really like these because they almost appear black, especially on camera, but actually they're a dark brown, so they kind of act as a black boot in my wardrobe, but they're a little bit softer, which allows me to pair them much more nicely with earth tones, with slightly more muted or warmer tones, where a black might look a little bit harsh. So I would recommend a dark brown, but you could also go for a suede if you're only going to wear them on more special occasions and you don't mind not wearing them when it's raining. You could also go for something slightly Western inspired. Duo boots do some boots that are really nice because they definitely have that Western inspiration behind them, but they aren't too on the nose. They're not cowboy boots. I feel like if you go for a very kind of traditional cowboy boot, that's almost a little bit themey and a little bit too on the nose cowboy, whereas these duo boots, Western boots, have that nod to the Western style with the pointed toe and the shape of them, but they still look timeless enough. They're a little bit boho, but not too much. The final thing I'll say about knee-high boots is if you wear a lot of wide leg trousers or wide leg jeans, these can be really great to wear under those trousers as well and add an extra layer of warmth. If you live somewhere really cold and you're always looking for ways to make your outfits warmer, then wearing something like this instead of an ankle boot under your jeans or trousers can be a great way to add an extra layer of insulation. If you're a skinny jeans wearer or even leggings, they look really great over the top of those as well, so they're surprisingly versatile, more versatile than you'd expect. Last but not least, we have number 5, and this one was a little tricky because I had a couple of different options that I was considering, but it had to go to these in the end, and that's a good pair of classic loafers. Loafers to me feel very autumnal, very autumn winter. I think it's because they have that slightly preppier academic vibe that I lean into a little bit more in the autumn winter. They have that almost cozy librarian chic or professor chic vibe, and I think that looks nicest in the autumn winter with lots of the cozy textures and coats and leathers, things like that. I would recommend going for something sort of in between, similar to the boots. You don't want anything too trendy, so nothing too chunky. I feel like the chunky loafer is a little bit overdone now and feels a little bit outdated, also looks a little bit heavy again on your foot, but also something too slim, or those backless loafers, I don't really like those either. I think something that's a nice in between, like a penny loafer, or something just very simple, something with that crinkly edge on it. Can't remember what those are called, but I think those are just classic. These loafers are a more recent addition to my wardrobe, and I wanted to share them because I absolutely love them. They are super high quality. They're from a brand called La Rude. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but they are a beautiful pair of suede loafers in this kind of almond brown shade. They're just gorgeous. They have this really nice gold detail, but again, nothing too crazy. The shape is very classic. This is very minimal. The suede is timeless. I have sprayed these with a suede protector. So yeah, I would highly recommend these loafers, but also the Sezam ones I own are fantastic as well. Just something that isn't too trendy either way, because a good pair of loafers can last you a long time. I feel like they're a shoe that break in and almost get better with age. So you don't want something that's going to feel really outdated in just a couple of years. In terms of how to style your loafers, I think it's actually very similar to trainers, and I would wear them in the same instances. trousers. So I think they look best with an ankle jean, something that shows a little bit of ankle or a little bit of foot. It seems to be a lot more flattering than if you wear them with wide leg jeans or trousers where they feel a little bit too small, a little bit too lost, especially because they're flat. I think anything like a slim to straight ankle jean is how they look best, or a trouser of that style as well. I also do think you can wear them with skirts and dresses. Again, I don't love them with midi skirts. There's something about midi skirts that I just find quite difficult to style with certain styles of shoe. I think they really do look best with a knee-high boot. But I do think that mini skirts look nice with loafers, and I also think maxi skirts can work with loafers as well, especially if your loafer isn't too chunky. And those are the 5 shoe styles that I swear by for autumn winter. Let me know if they are similar to yours. Let me know if there is anything missing from my list that you would add. What are the shoes that you go to in the autumn winter? What are your favorite shoe brands as well? I will leave all of the links to everything I've shown in this video down below in the order that they appeared, so it's really easy for you to shop if you are missing any of these shoe styles within your wardrobe and you would like to update your wardrobe for this autumn winter. If you enjoyed this video, please do consider subscribing. I will also leave some videos on screen if you're not done watching. I hope you're all doing really well, and I will see you very soon in my next video. Bye!